Thanks so much for today. I had a lot of fun and I'm completely full. My stomach feels satisfied after such an amazing meal. Could you send me the group photo that you took today? I ask with a hopeful smile, already looking forward to seeing our happy faces together. I still haven't received the photo, though. My heart sinks a little as I check my phone for the 5th time. I think you should have sent it to me already. The disappointment stings more than I want to admit. At my gold-digging granddaughter's wedding, they gave me a name tag that read, "That old lady." I smile, feeling a sharp pang of hurt in my chest as I share this. As the limousine took me home, they received the bill for the entire party, and I felt a rare sense of justice. I'm glad to have you here with me. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from, so I can see how far my story has reached. The elegant notes of Pachelbel's canon float through the air as I step into the grand ballroom of the Bellamy Hotel. My heart races with nervous anticipation. I've spent 3 hours getting ready for Olivia's wedding, my arthritic fingers struggling painfully with each pearl button on my pale blue dress, the one I've carefully saved for, setting aside a little from my social security checks each month. "You'll look beautiful, Marie," I whispered to myself that morning, applying a touch of lipstick and securing my silver hair into a neat bun. At 71, I still take pride in my appearance, especially for important family occasions. My pulse quickens with hope. After months of minimal contact, I'll finally be spending time with my family, particularly Olivia, my only granddaughter. The invitation arrived 6 weeks ago. Formal and impersonal, but an invitation nonetheless. I responded immediately, my fingers trembling with excitement, hoping this would be a chance to bridge the growing distance between us. The wedding coordinator, a slim young woman with a tight ponytail and an even tighter smile, directs me toward the reception desk. "Name?" she asks, barely looking up from her tablet, her tone dismissive. "Marie Henderson," I reply, unable to hide the pride swelling in my voice. "I'm the grandmother of the bride. I'm also a certified care manager," I add, mentioning my profession of 35 years. Her fingers skim over the tablet, completely ignoring my professional credentials. "Right. Here's your name tag." She slides a small badge across the counter, her attention already shifting to the next guest. I pick up the badge, expecting to see my name elegantly printed. Instead, scrawled in hasty handwriting are the words, "That old lady." My heart freezes in my chest. My fingers tremble as I hold the badge. Surely this is a mistake, a terrible error. The disrespect cuts deep, making my stomach twist into knots. "Excuse me," I say, my voice suddenly dry, throat tightening with emotion. "There seems to be a problem with my—" "We're quite busy, ma'am," she interrupts, already looking past me to the next guest. "The ceremony starts in 20 minutes. Please find your seat." Her dismissive tone makes me feel completely invisible. I clutch the badge, a small piece of paper that somehow weighs heavier than anything I've carried in years. Across the room, I spot Olivia surrounded by bridesmaids, radiant in her designer gown. Her laughter floats toward me, bright and carefree. Next to her stands my son Daniel, handsome in his tuxedo, arm wrapped around his wife Jennifer's waist. And there's Ethan, Olivia's soon-to-be husband. A tall man with sharp features and sharper ambitions. I've met him only twice. Both times he barely acknowledged my presence, despite my attempts to discuss his business interests. I slowly pin the badge to my dress, each press of my fingers feeling like a quiet surrender. No one will notice anyway, I tell myself, swallowing the lump in my throat. No one has noticed me in years. The usher, a young man who can't be bothered to look me in the eye, guides me to my seat, far back in the corner behind a large floral arrangement that partially blocks my view of the altar. I settle in, arranging my dress carefully, clutching my small beaded purse that contains a check, a wedding gift representing 3 months of careful budgeting. "Is this seat taken?" I look up to find an elderly gentleman pointing to the chair beside me. "No, please," I say, grateful for the company, my voice betraying my relief. "Robert Taylor," he introduces himself. "Friend of the family." "Marie Henderson," I reply. "I'm Olivia's grandmother." His eyebrows shoot up. "The grandmother of the bride sitting back here?" His indignation on my behalf warms my heart momentarily. I offer a practiced smile, the same one I've perfected over years of family gatherings where I was more decoration than participant. "It's fine," I assure him, though in truth my heart aches with rejection. Throughout the ceremony I strain to see past the flowers, my neck cramping with effort. When Olivia and Ethan exchange vows, I can only catch glimpses of their profiles. When guests stand to applaud the newlyweds, I stand too, wiping away a tear, not of joy, but of something closer to resignation, the moisture cool against my cheek. At the reception, I discover my table assignment is equally telling. Table 19, the furthest from the bridal party, populated by distant acquaintances and workplace obligations. The table card labels it extended connections. The words sting like a slap. I watch as Daniel gives his father of the bride speech, reminiscing about Olivia's childhood, stories I lived through, moments I shaped. Yet not once does he mention my name or my role in raising her during those difficult years after his divorce, when he was too busy rebuilding his career to handle a teenage daughter. My contributions as both grandmother and professional caregiver completely erased. When dinner ends, I make my way toward the bridal table, gift envelope in hand, my heart pounding with hope. Olivia sees me approaching and whispers something to Ethan. They both look at me, then quickly engage in conversation with the best man. The rejection stings like ice against my skin. "Olivia, darling," I say, reaching the table, fighting to keep my voice steady. "You look absolutely beautiful. Your dress is stunning." She turns, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Oh, Grandma, you made it." Her voice holds no warmth, no genuine pleasure. "Of course I did. I wouldn't miss your special day for anything in the world." I extend the envelope, my hand slightly trembling. "A small gift. You can leave it with the others," she interrupts, gesturing toward a decorated table piled with presents. "We're about to start the dance." She turns away before I can even kiss her cheek, and I feel my heart crack a little more. As I place my envelope among the mountain of expensive-looking gifts, I notice something that makes my blood run cold. On the wedding planner's clipboard, abandoned momentarily on a nearby chair, is a checklist. Under special arrangements, I clearly read Marie Henderson, seated away from medical professionals. Limited interaction as requested. I stand there, the room suddenly spinning around me, nausea rising in my throat. All these years, I've told myself they were just busy, just preoccupied. I've made excuses for the missed phone calls, the abbreviated holiday visits, the forgotten birthdays. But this is deliberate. This is orchestrated. I feel physically ill reading those words. And in that moment, something inside me, something that has bent and bent for years without breaking, finally snaps. The pain transforms into something harder, something like resolve. I find a quiet corner near the coat check and try to gather my composure. A lifetime of memories crashes over me like waves against a weathered shore, each one bringing fresh pain. I remember the day Olivia was born, how I rushed to the hospital with a handmade blanket I'd spent months knitting, my heart overflowing with love. I remember the summers she stayed with me when Daniel and Jennifer were working on their marriage, how she'd sit at my kitchen table drawing pictures and telling me about her dreams while I baked her favorite chocolate chip cookies, the scent filling my small kitchen with warmth. Those early years had been precious. I taught her to read, to garden, to appreciate classical music. I was the one who noticed her artistic talent and bought her first set of watercolors. When she won the school art competition at age 10, "It was my shoulder," she cried happy tears on, her small body trembling with excitement against mine. Everything changed when Daniel finally divorced Jennifer and remarried Victoria 3 years later. Victoria came from money, old money. And suddenly my modest home and simple ways weren't good enough. Olivia's visits became shorter, less frequent, and eventually stopped altogether except for obligatory holiday appearances. The loss felt like a physical ache in my chest. I sold my house when I was 65, the house where I'd raised Daniel alone after my husband died of a heart attack at 42. Daniel had been only 13 then, and I'd worked 2 jobs as a care manager while furthering my education at night to ensure he could go to college. That house held every memory I cherished. But I sold it because Daniel said he needed help with Olivia's tuition at that prestigious private arts academy. "It's an investment in her future, Mom," he'd said, his eyes not quite meeting mine. This opportunity could change her life. I believed him. I would have done anything for that child. The $175,000 from my house sale went directly to Olivia's education fund. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of town, telling myself it was cozy rather than cramped, that the constant noise from the highway outside my window was urban ambiance rather than a nuisance that kept me awake at night. Daniel promised they'd visit every Sunday. That lasted exactly 3 weeks. Then it was once a month, then holidays, then just Christmas. And even that became an abbreviated 2-hour visit, where they arrived late and left early, laden with the gifts I'd spent months selecting. Though I never saw Olivia wear or use any of them. Each empty Sunday I sat alone, watching the clock, hope gradually fading as the hours passed. Standing in that corner of the ballroom, watching the family I'd sacrificed everything for celebrate without me, I realize how completely I've been erased. The revelation hits me like a physical blow, making it hard to breathe. "Mrs. Henderson?" A gentle voice interrupts my thoughts. I turn to find an older gentleman in a chauffeur's uniform. "William Cooper," he introduces himself. "I used to drive for the Jacksons next door to you years ago." "William?" I smile, genuinely pleased to see a familiar face. What a small world. The relief of recognition washes over me. "I work for Elite Limousine Service now," he explains. "I'm assigned to the wedding party tonight." His kind eyes study my face. "Are you all right, Mrs. Henderson? You seem troubled." His concern, genuine and warm, is almost my undoing. Something about his sincere concern breaks through my carefully constructed facade. "Oh, William," I whisper, my voice catching. "I don't think I belong here." I show him my name tag. His face darkens with indignation. "That's disgraceful," he says quietly. "Absolutely disgraceful. And after all you've done, all those years caring for others." "It's been this way for years," I admit, feeling tears burning behind my eyes. "I just didn't want to see it." William glances at his watch. "My shift runs until midnight, but I'm not scheduled for any pickups for the next few hours. Would you like me to drive you home? No charge, of course." His kindness is like a balm to my wounded spirit. I hesitate, looking back toward the reception where the guests are gathering for the cake cutting. Another moment I would watch from the periphery, another memory I would be excluded from. "They won't even notice I'm gone," I say, surprised by the steadiness in my voice despite the pain throbbing in my chest. William offers his arm. "My car is right outside, Mrs. Henderson." As we walk through the hotel lobby, I spot the wedding planner deep in conversation with the hotel manager. They're reviewing a document, and I catch fragments of their discussion. "Final payment due tonight. Bride's parents' credit card on file. Balance of 42,175. I pause. An idea, small at first, then expanding like ripples in a pond, begins to form. I feel a strange sense of power creeping through my veins. In the limousine, settled against the soft leather seats, I ask William, "Do you happen to know who's paying for the wedding?" "The bride's parents arranged everything through Elite," he replies. "Mr. Daniel Henderson put down the deposits, but the final contracts list both him and the bride as financially responsible parties." I nod slowly, remembering the conversation I'd overheard between Daniel and Victoria at Thanksgiving. Mom's house money covered most of Olivia's tuition, but we had to tap into our savings for this wedding. Thank God for those zero-interest credit cards. The memory burns like acid. "William," I say carefully, my heart racing with the boldness of what I'm considering. "How well do you know the management at the Bellamy?" "Fairly well, Mrs. Henderson. I've been driving their VIP guests for 7 years now. If I wanted to make a change to the payment arrangements for tonight's event, who would I speak with?" My voice sounds stronger than I've felt in years. William meets my eyes in the rearview mirror. "Are you thinking what I think you're thinking?" I see a glimmer of admiration in his gaze. For the first time that evening, I smile, a real smile, not the practiced one I've worn like armor. I'm not sure yet, but I believe I've been absent long enough. Don't you? The question hangs in the air, filled with possibility. The following morning, I wake to the insistent ringing of my telephone. I let it go to the answering machine, listening as Daniel's voice fills my small apartment tight with barely controlled rage. "Mom, what the hell did you do?" "The hotel is saying the final payment was cancelled and rearranged. They're charging us the entire amount. Call me back immediately." His panic brings a strange sense of satisfaction that immediately mixes with guilt. I sip my tea, watching the morning sunlight filter through my curtains, feeling the warmth on my face. Another call comes in. Victoria this time, her voice shrill and demanding, slicing through the quiet morning. After my conversation with William last night, I'd asked him to take me to the hotel's billing office. The night manager had been skeptical at first, but after I'd shown him my ID and explained that I wanted to remove the complimentary grandmother contribution from the wedding costs, he'd understood. I'd spoken with the professional authority I'd developed over decades of advocating for elderly clients. "Family disagreement?" he'd asked discreetly. "Family clarification," I'd corrected, my voice calm but firm. My phone rings again. Olivia now, leaving a tearful message about how Ethan's parents were horrified how their honeymoon might have to be cancelled. How could you do this to me on my special day? Her voice cracks with disbelief and anger. I think about my name tag, about my seat behind the flowers, about limited interaction as requested. I think about my house, about the educational fund, about all the Sundays I'd sat waiting for visitors who never came, the crushing disappointment becoming routine. Then I pick up my teacup, take another sip, feeling the warm liquid slide down my throat and begin to plan the next chapter of my life. One where I am no longer absent. One where, finally, I matter to myself. The next 3 days pass in a storm of voicemails, each more desperate than the last. I listen to them with detached curiosity, as if they were radio broadcasts from a distant country, though each pleading message still tugs at my heart. Mom, we need to talk about this right now. Daniel's voice has lost its commanding edge, replaced by something closer to panic. Marie, please be reasonable. Victoria's message begins, her usual condescension unable to mask her anxiety. This is becoming embarrassing for everyone. By the 4th day, the tone shifts. Grandma, Olivia's voice tearful but calculated. We're having to cancel our honeymoon to Bali. Is that what you wanted, to ruin my special time with Ethan? Her attempt at manipulation is so transparent it almost makes me laugh. I sit at my small kitchen table, running my finger along the rim of my teacup. The morning light streams through the window, illuminating the dust particles dancing in the air. Outside, a garbage truck rumbles down the street, the rhythmic beeping a counterpoint to my thoughts. I hadn't expected this hollow feeling. In movies, revenge is always sweet, satisfying. But all I feel is emptiness and the faintest flicker of resolve. No joy, just a quiet certainty that I've finally stood up for myself. My doorbell rings, startling me from my reverie. Through the peephole, I see Daniel shifting impatiently in the hallway, his expensive watch glinting as he checks the time. Victoria stands beside him, arms crossed, her face set in lines of displeasure. My heart races with anxiety at the confrontation to come. I consider not answering, but some habits die hard. I've never been able to turn my son away, even when he'd all but abandoned me. My hand trembles slightly as I reach for the doorknob. Mom, Daniel begins the moment I open the door, not bothering with a greeting. This has gone far enough. You need to fix this. His face is flushed with anger. I step back, allowing them into my apartment. Their eyes sweep over my modest furnishings with poorly concealed disdain. I feel a flush of shame, then anger at myself for feeling ashamed. Would you like some tea? I offer, more out of ingrained politeness than genuine hospitality. We don't have time for tea, Victoria snaps, her perfectly manicured fingernail tapping impatiently against her designer handbag. Do you have any idea what you've done? I settle into my armchair, feeling the familiar support of it against my back, gathering strength from its solidity. I gesture for them to sit on the sofa. Daniel remains standing, hands thrust into his pockets. I simply clarified the financial arrangements, I say calmly, surprising myself with how steady my voice is. As the grandmother of the bride, I was expected to contribute. But as that old lady, I felt my contribution should be absent as well. The bitterness I feel colours my words despite my best efforts. Daniel's face flushes deeper. What are you talking about? I cross to the sideboard where my purse still sits from the wedding night. From inside, I withdraw the name tag and place it on the coffee table between us. Victoria's eyes widen slightly before she looks away, guilt flashing across her face. Daniel picks up the badge, confusion creasing his brow. This must have been a mistake, he says, but there's uncertainty in his voice. Was it also a mistake to seat me behind the floral arrangement? I ask, feeling heat rise to my cheeks. Was it a mistake when the wedding planner's notes specified limited interaction with me and keeping me away from medical professionals? My voice quivers with suppressed emotion. Victoria's gaze darts to Daniel, a silent warning passing between them. I catch it and feel my resolve strengthen. We didn't, Daniel begins. Please don't lie to me, I interrupt, my voice soft but firm. I've had enough lies over the years. Enough promises about Sunday visits that never happened. Enough assurances that the money from my house was being well spent. The pain of those broken promises is still fresh. The silence that follows is deafening. Mom? Daniel finally says, his tone slipping into the one he uses for difficult clients. I understand you're upset, but this reaction is completely disproportionate. The hotel is demanding $42,000 immediately. We don't have that kind of liquid cash right now. He runs his hand through his carefully styled hair. I sold my house for $175,000. I reply, feeling my professional training kick in as I lay out the facts. Every penny went to Olivia's education because you said it was an investment in her future. Where did the rest of the money go, Daniel? My eyes lock with his, refusing to look away. He shifts uncomfortably. That's not relevant right now. His evasion confirms my suspicions. It's entirely relevant, I counter, leaning forward in my chair. That money was meant for my retirement. Instead, I live here. I gesture to the apartment, the water stain on the ceiling, the radiator that clanks all winter. While you and Victoria have a 5-bedroom house in Oakwood Hills, while Olivia has designer clothes and European vacations. The unfairness of it all makes my voice tremble. Victoria stands abruptly. We didn't come here to be interrogated about our finances. We came to resolve the hotel situation. Her voice is cold. I look at her, really look at her. This woman who has systematically removed me from my son's life, from my granddaughter's life. I see the calculation behind her perfect makeup, the contempt barely hidden beneath her polished veneer. The situation is already resolved, I say, surprising myself with the firmness in my voice. The hotel will be paid in full by the responsible parties as per the contract. We can't afford this right now, Daniel explodes, his face contorted with rage. The business is going through a transition, and with the down payment on Olivia and Ethan's condo. He stops, realizing what he's revealed, horror washing over his face. You bought them a condo? I ask, the final piece falling into place. My heart sinking with the confirmation. That's where my house money went? My voice is barely above a whisper. The silence confirms my suspicion. The betrayal cuts deeper than I thought possible. Get out, I say quietly, a strange calm settling over me. Daniel's expression shifts to disbelief. Mom, you can't be serious. I've never been more serious, I reply, standing. My knees protest, but I ignore the pain. Get out of my home. Each word is measured, deliberate. This isn't over, Victoria warns as I open the door, her face tight with anger. You're right, I agree, meeting her gaze steadily. It's just beginning. The words feel like a declaration of independence. After they leave, I sit trembling in my chair for a long time. Standing up to them has cost me more than they could ever understand. For years, I've accepted crumbs of attention, convinced myself it was enough. The fear of losing even those crumbs has kept me compliant, grateful for the barest acknowledgement of my existence. But now I've crossed a line. There will be consequences. Retaliation. I'm terrified. And yet, beneath the fear, a small, steady flame of determination burns, warming me from within. My phone rings. The caller ID shows a number I don't recognize. My stomach tightens with apprehension. Mrs. Henderson, this is Jonathan Pierce from First Capital Bank. I'm calling about your safety deposit box. There seems to be some confusion I'd like to clear up. His voice is professional but concerned. My throat tightens. What kind of confusion? I clutch the phone harder, my knuckles turning white. Your son Daniel came in this morning with a power of attorney document requesting access to your box. The document appeared irregular, so I declined access pending your confirmation. There's a note of caution in his voice that sends a chill through me. I clutch the edge of the table for support, my legs suddenly weak. I never signed a power of attorney. My voice sounds distant even to my own ears. That's what concerned me, Jonathan replies. Would you be able to come to the bank today to review the document? An hour later, I sit in Jonathan's office, staring at a power of attorney form that bears what appears to be my signature. A reasonable facsimile, but not my own distinctive hand. My heart pounds so hard I'm sure Jonathan can hear it. This is forged, I say, my voice surprisingly steady considering the earthquake happening inside me. I never signed this. The betrayal is so profound it's almost beyond emotion. Jonathan nods, his expression grave. I suspected as much. Mrs. Henderson, I recommend you take immediate steps to protect your assets. If they're attempting this, there may be other vulnerabilities we should address. His concern is professional but genuine. I think of the small inheritance from my husband, carefully preserved in that safety deposit box, the municipal bonds, the few pieces of jewelry with more sentimental than monetary value, my mother's pearls, my husband's pocket watch, items I've treasured and protected, now targets for my own son's greed. What do you suggest? I ask, feeling both vulnerable and determined. Before Jonathan can respond, his office phone rings. He answers, listens, then covers the receiver. It's your son. He's in the lobby, insisting on speaking with me. His eyes meet mine, questioning. I feel something shift inside me. Something final and irrevocable. The care manager in me, the professional who has protected vulnerable seniors for decades, now stands up for herself. Tell him I'm here, I say. It's time we had an honest conversation. My voice doesn't waver. Daniel's face pales when he sees me sitting in Jonathan Pierce's office. He freezes in the doorway, his confident stride faltering. I see the shock in his eyes, quickly followed by calculation. Mom? He manages, his voice tight. I've been looking everywhere for you. Have you? I ask mildly, though my heart is racing. Or have you been looking for access to my safety deposit box? The directness of my question surprises even me. Jonathan stands, his presence commanding despite his advanced years. Mr. Henderson, I've explained that the document you presented appears to have irregularities. In fact, your mother has just confirmed she never signed it. His tone is professional but firm. Daniel's gaze darts between us, calculation visible behind his eyes. I know that look. I've seen it when he was 7 and broke my favorite vase. When he was 16 and took the car without permission. When he was 24 and needed money for his first business venture. It's the look of someone desperately seeking an escape route. There's clearly been a misunderstanding, he says, smoothly shifting to damage control. Mom, we discussed this a few months ago. Remember, after you had that fall? His lie is so blatant it takes my breath away. I hadn't fallen. Not once. My work with elderly clients makes me acutely aware of fall risks. And I've always been careful. You suggested it would be easier if I could handle certain matters for you, he continues, fabricating a conversation that had never occurred. You were worried about managing your affairs as you get older. The ease with which he lies hurts almost as much as the lie itself. Jonathan's expression hardens. Mr. Henderson, falsifying a power of attorney is a serious legal matter. The warning in his voice is unmistakable. Daniel's professional mask slips for just a moment, revealing a flash of panic. I would never— This is ridiculous. Mom, tell him there's been a mistake. His eyes plead with me. But there's no genuine remorse, only fear of consequences. I look at my son. Really look at him. The expensive suit that can't quite hide his spreading middle. The carefully maintained hair hiding the first signs of recession. The manicured nails and designer watch. The stranger who once was my little boy. When had he become this person, this stranger who would forge my signature to gain access to my modest assets? My heart aches with a grief deeper than I thought possible. The only mistake, I say quietly, was believing you still had any respect for me. The words feel like stones in my mouth. Daniel's face flushes. That's not fair. I've always— Always what? I interrupt, feeling decades of professional assertiveness flow into my personal life. Always remembered my birthday? Always included me in family gatherings? Always been honest about where the money from my house went? Each question hits him like a physical blow. The silence that follows is deafening. Mrs. Henderson, Jonathan says gently, would you like me to call security? I shake my head. No, but I would like to make some changes to my accounts. My mind is suddenly clear, decisive. Daniel takes a step forward. Mom, you're overreacting. Let's discuss this at home. There's a note of desperation in his voice now. My home? I correct him. My very small home that I live in because I sold my house to help Olivia. Except the money apparently went toward a condo for her and Ethan instead. The bitterness spills out despite my efforts to remain calm. Jonathan clears his throat. Mr. Henderson, I need to speak with your mother privately. I'll have to ask you to leave. His tone brooks no argument. She's confused, Daniel protests. She's getting on in years and sometimes— I'm 71, not senile, I say sharply. And I've never been clearer about anything in my life. I've spent 35 years as a certified care manager, Daniel. I know more about cognitive assessment than you ever will. Leave now, or Mr. Pierce will call security. The professional authority in my voice surprises even me. After a tense moment, Daniel straightens his jacket and heads for the door. This isn't over, he says, an echo of Victoria's earlier threat. No, I agree, it isn't. The certainty in my voice seems to unsettle him. After he leaves, Jonathan turns to me with concern. Mrs. Henderson, I strongly recommend we take immediate steps to secure your finances. For the next hour, Jonathan helps me revoke all existing signatory privileges Daniel might have had on any of my accounts. We change passwords, security questions, and access protocols. Jonathan even suggests a small local law firm specializing in elder protection. It might be wise to speak with them, he advises. Given the attempted forgery, there could be other vulnerabilities we haven't identified. His concern is comforting. I nod, feeling both empowered and exhausted. Thank you, Jonathan. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't called me. My voice catches with emotion. His kind eyes crinkle at the corners. I've been a banker for 43 years, Mrs. Henderson. I've seen families at their best and at their worst. Unfortunately, money often brings out the latter. He speaks with the wisdom of experience. As I gather my purse to leave, Jonathan hesitates. Mrs. Henderson Marie, may I ask what you plan to do now? I consider his question, feeling the weight and possibility of it. I'm not entirely sure, I admit. But for the first time in years, I'll be making my own decisions. The prospect is both terrifying and exhilarating. Outside the bank, I stand on the sidewalk, momentarily overwhelmed by the busy street. The pedestrians rushing past, the endless possibilities stretching before me. For so long, my world has contracted to a small apartment and occasional uncomfortable family gatherings where I was tolerated rather than welcomed. Now suddenly I'm free. My heart pounds with anxiety and anticipation. Free from expectations, free from the desperate hope that someday my family would really see me. But freedom, I'm discovering, can be terrifying. The vastness of it makes me dizzy. My phone rings. Victoria again. I silence it without a second thought, feeling a small thrill of defiance. Instead, I call a number I haven't used in months. Hello? A warm, familiar voice answers. Charlotte, I say, my voice catching slightly. It's Marie. I was wondering. Is your offer to visit still open? Hope trembles in my question. Charlotte has been my closest friend for 38 years before moving to Maine 5 years ago to be near her daughter. She'd invited me countless times to visit, but I'd always declined, worried about being away in case Daniel or Olivia needed me. The irony of that concern now makes me almost laugh. Marie, Charlotte exclaims, of course it's still open. I've been saving your bedroom for ages. When can you come? Her delight is palpable, warming me through the phone. For the first time in days, I feel myself smile, a genuine smile that reaches all the way to my eyes. How about next week? I suggest, my heart lighter than it's been in years. Later that evening, as I pack a small suitcase for my visit to Charlotte, my doorbell rings again. My heart jumps nervously in my chest. This time it's Olivia standing in the hallway. Her eyes red-rimmed, her expression a practiced mixture of hurt and indignation. Even in distress, she looks perfect, every hair in place. Grandma, she begins, her voice trembling slightly. We need to talk. Her perfume wafts into my apartment, expensive and overwhelming. I hold the door open, allowing her into my apartment. Unlike her parents, Olivia at least has the decency to hug me, though it feels perfunctory, the embrace too brief to convey any real affection. Would you like some tea? I offer, falling back on hospitality to mask my discomfort. She shakes her head. I can't stay long. She takes a deep breath and I brace myself. Grandma, Ethan and I had to cancel our honeymoon because of what happened with the hotel bill. Dad says you're refusing to help. I study my granddaughter, this beautiful young woman who once sat at my kitchen table colouring pictures and telling me her dreams. When had she become so entitled? When had gratitude been replaced by expectation? The transformation breaks my heart. Olivia, I say gently, do you remember your name tag for me at the wedding? She looks momentarily confused, her perfectly shaped eyebrows drawing together. What name tag? The one that said, that old lady, I remind her. The memory still raw and painful. The one that ensured I knew exactly what you all think of me. My voice remains steady despite the hurt. Her cheeks flush. That wasn't, she stammers, caught off guard. Please don't lie to me, I interrupt, the pain in my chest sharpening. I saw the wedding planner's notes about limited interaction as requested by the bride's mother. I know I was deliberately sidelined, kept away from the medical professionals attending your wedding. Was that because you were ashamed of me? Afraid I might mention my experience as a care manager? The questions that have burned within me finally escape. Olivia sits down heavily on my sofa, her designer purse sliding to the floor. Grandma, you don't understand. Victoria thought, I understand perfectly, I say, the professional calm I've developed over decades helping me maintain composure. And I've made my decision. The wedding costs are your responsibility, as outlined in the contract your father signed. But what about our honeymoon? She pleads, her lower lip trembling perfectly. We've been planning it for months. The honeymoon is a luxury, not a necessity, I finish for her. Perhaps you could use the down payment on that condo your parents bought you. I can't keep the bitterness from my voice. Her eyes widen, genuine shock replacing the calculated distress. How did you know about that? I just found out today. Apparently that's where the money from my house went. The house I sold to pay for your education. Each word feels heavy with decades of sacrifice. Olivia has the grace to look ashamed, if only briefly. Dad said that was an investment we all agreed on. She can't quite meet my eyes. An investment, I repeat. Yes, that's exactly how he described it to me as well. Funny how differently we interpreted that word. The betrayal still stings fresh and raw. I sigh, suddenly tired of the conversation, of the pretense, of the years of being used while being kept at arm's length. The weight of it all settles on my shoulders. Olivia, I'm going away for a while. I need some time to think about what happens next. I gesture toward my half-packed suitcase. Going away? She echoes, finally noticing my packing. Where? For how long? Alarm creeps into her voice. I'm not sure yet, I answer truthfully. But I've spent years making myself available to a family that only wanted me when it was convenient. It's time I lived for myself for a change. The words feel like a declaration of independence. Olivia stands, her expression hardening into something that reminds me painfully of Victoria. So you're abandoning us when we need you most? The accusation hits me like a slap. The irony of her statement is so profound that I almost laugh. Instead, I go to my bookshelf and remove a photo album, opening it to a page I know by heart. I hand it to Olivia, my hands trembling slightly. This is you at 6, staying with me the summer your parents were separating, I say, pointing to a photo of a gap-toothed Olivia holding a paintbrush, her smile carefree and genuine. And this is you at 12. The Christmas, your father was too busy with his new girlfriend to pick you up. This one is your high school graduation, where I sat in the back row because Victoria said there wasn't enough room in the family section. I gently take the album back, my fingers caressing the plastic-covered pages. I have never abandoned you, Olivia. Not once in 23 years. I cannot say the same for any of you. The truth hangs in the air between us. The morning train to Portland rolls steadily through the countryside, the rhythmic clacking of wheels against tracks matching the beating of my heart. I gaze out the window, watching small towns and verdant fields pass by, the landscape a blur of green and gold. Each mile increases the distance between me and the remnants of a family that has treated me as an afterthought. I feel both grief and relief mingling in my chest. I left before dawn, leaving no forwarding address, no note explaining my absence. For once, they will experience what I have felt for years, the unsettling emptiness of reaching out to someone who simply isn't there. The thought brings a complicated mixture of satisfaction and sadness. My phone has been buzzing intermittently since yesterday. I silenced it after Olivia's visit, but occasionally glance at the screen. Missed calls from Daniel, Victoria, Olivia. Even Ethan has tried once, undoubtedly pressured by his new wife. I imagine them huddled around a phone, strategizing how to reach me, how to regain control of the situation of me. The thought no longer brings pain, just a detached curiosity. I turn off my phone and slip it into my purse, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. Charlotte is waiting at the Portland station, her silver hair gleaming in the late morning sun, her arms open wide. We embrace like the old friends we are, tears mingling with laughter. The warmth of her welcome washes over me, genuine and healing. Let me look at you, she says, holding me at arm's length, her eyes studying me intently. Still elegant as ever, but thinner. Have you been eating properly? Concern creases her forehead. I laugh softly, feeling some of the tension leave my body. Always the mother hen. Someone has to be, she replies, linking her arm through mine as we walk to her car. The familiar gesture of affection brings tears to my eyes. Charlotte's cottage sits on a bluff overlooking the Atlantic, the endless blue horizon stretching beyond the weathered deck. White clapboard walls, blue shutters, and a garden bursting with late summer blooms. It's everything she has described in her letters, and the beauty of it takes my breath away. It's beautiful, I say as we carry my suitcase inside, the scent of salt air and freshly baked bread enveloping me. It's peaceful, Charlotte corrects, setting a kettle on the stove, and exactly what you need right now. Her understanding is a balm to my wounded spirit. Over tea and homemade scones, I tell her everything. The wedding, the name tag, the forged power of attorney, the confrontations. I pour out the hurt and betrayal that have been building for years. Charlotte listens without interruption, her expression shifting from shock to outrage to sorrow. Her hands occasionally reach for mine, offering silent support. Oh, Marie, she sighs when I finish. I've always thought Daniel was too influenced by that woman, but this is beyond the pale. Her indignation on my behalf warms my heart. I enabled it, I admit, the confession both painful and freeing. For years, I made excuses for them. I told myself they were busy, that family dynamics change as children grow older. I convinced myself that being occasionally remembered was better than being completely forgotten. Saying it aloud helps me see the pattern I've allowed. Charlotte reaches across the table, covering my hand with hers. What will you do now? Her eyes are kind but don't shy away from the hard question. I look out the window, watching seagulls wheel against the clear blue sky. Their freedom both beautiful and intimidating. I'm not sure. For the first time in decades, I'm making decisions just for me. It's terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. My voice carries a tremor of both fear and excitement. That evening, we sit on the deck watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. The sound of waves crashing against the rocks below is hypnotic, soothing. I feel more at peace than I have in years. I've been thinking, Charlotte says, breaking our comfortable silence. My neighbor Sophia runs the local rehabilitation center. They're looking for someone to teach therapeutic watercolor classes a few afternoons a week. It's nothing fancy, mostly patients recovering from strokes and injuries, along with some retirees. I haven't painted in years, I interrupt gently, though the idea sparks interest. But you were good, Marie. Remember that summer in Provence after your husband died? Your landscapes captured something special, a quality of light, a sense of peace. Her confidence in me is touching. I smile at the memory. After my husband's sudden death, when grief had threatened to consume me, Charlotte had convinced me to join her on a painting retreat in southern France. For 2 weeks, we'd sat in lavender fields and village squares trying to capture on paper the beauty around us. It had been a lifeline during the darkest period of my life. I'm not sure I remember how, I confess, anxiety fluttering in my chest. Charlotte laughs, the sound warm and reassuring. It's like riding a bicycle. Besides, your experience as a care manager would be invaluable for working with patients. The position pays. Not much, but enough to supplement your social security. You could stay here as long as you like, rent-free. Charlotte, I couldn't impose. The offer seems too generous, too good to be true. It's not an imposition, she insists, her eyes serious. This house is too big for just me. The guest room is always empty, except when my daughter visits at Christmas. And frankly, I've missed having my best friend around. The sincerity in her voice brings tears to my eyes. I feel my throat tighten with emotion. You're serious? Completely, she affirms. Stay a week. Stay a month. If you like it here, stay longer. No pressure, no expectations. She squeezes my hand. No pressure, no expectations. The words wash over me like a benediction, healing something broken inside me. 2 days later, I receive an email from Jonathan Pierce at the bank. Daniel has returned, this time with Victoria, insisting there had been a misunderstanding about the power of attorney. When Jonathan explained that I had left town indefinitely, they demanded my location. My stomach clenches at the thought of their persistence. Jonathan, of course, has not provided it. I wanted to warn you. His email concludes that they seem determined to locate you. Mr. Henderson mentions something about a family emergency requiring your immediate attention. I smile grimly, imagining what this emergency might be, the hotel bill, no doubt. Or perhaps some new financial demand. The transparency of their manipulation is almost laughable now. That afternoon, I agree to meet with Sophia at the rehabilitation center, a converted boathouse overlooking the harbor. The space is bright and airy, with large windows capturing the shifting coastal light. The scent of paint and possibility fills the air. Charlotte speaks very highly of your talents and professional background, Sophia says, showing me around the studio. Her paint-splattered jeans and practical approach remind me of myself years ago. We've had a surge of interest in our therapeutic art program, but our current instructor can only handle so many patients. I haven't taught before, I admit, anxiety fluttering in my chest. I'm not sure I'd be any good at it. Sophia, a brisk woman in her 60s with short grey hair, waves away my concerns. Do you love painting? Yes, I answer without hesitation, surprised by my own certainty. Can you explain to someone how to mix colours? How to hold a brush? How to see the world as shapes and light rather than objects? Her questions are direct, practical. I think about the hours I'd spent teaching Olivia to paint when she was young, guiding her small hand as she learned to create flowers and trees and people. The memory brings both pain and warmth. Yes, I say, I can do that. And my background in care management taught me how to work with people recovering from trauma and illness. I surprise myself with this assertion of my professional value. Then you can teach, Sophia declares. Your combination of artistic ability and professional experience is exactly what we need. Start next Tuesday with the morning group. They're mostly stroke recovery patients, very forgiving of first-time instructors. Her confidence in me bolsters my own. As we finalize the details, my phone, which I have finally turned back on, begins to ring. Olivia's name flashes on the screen. My heart jumps with both longing and apprehension. "Excuse me," I say to Sophia. "I should take this." Stepping outside, the fresh salt air filling my lungs, I answer the call. "Hello, Olivia." "Grandma!" Her voice is tight with tension. "Where are you? We've been worried sick." The concern sounds real, but experience has taught me to be cautious. "I'm visiting a friend," I reply calmly, "as I told you I would." The half-truth comes easily. "Dad says you emptied your accounts and disappeared," she accuses. "He says you're having some kind of breakdown." The suggestion that I might be mentally unstable ignites a flash of anger. I laugh, the sound carried away by the salt breeze. "I'm not having a breakdown, Olivia. I'm finally putting myself first. After 35 years of caring for others, I'm finally caring for myself." The declaration feels powerful. But what about the family? What about the hotel bill? I finish for her. Or is there another financial emergency I'm supposed to solve? The bitterness I've tried to suppress seeps into my voice. Her silence confirms my suspicion. The transparency of their concern is both painful and illuminating. "Olivia," I say gently, "I taught you to paint when you were 6 years old. Do you remember that?" The memory is vivid, her small face intent with concentration. "What does that have to do with anything?" she asks, frustration evident in her voice. "Everything," I reply. "I've just accepted a position teaching therapeutic watercolor at a rehabilitation center. I'm going to be using both my artistic talents and my professional skills to help people heal. I'm going to be staying here for a while." Pride wells up inside me at this new chapter. "Where is here?" she demands, and I hear real panic in her voice now. I look out at the harbor, at the boats bobbing gently in the late afternoon sun, at the seagulls circling overhead. A profound sense of peace settles over me, replacing the constant anxiety I've lived with for so long. "Somewhere I'm respected," I answer simply. "Somewhere I belong." The truth of the statement resonates through my entire being. Autumn in coastal Maine paints the world in brilliant hues of crimson and gold. 3 months have passed since I fled my old life. 3 months of peaceful mornings watching the sun rise over the Atlantic, afternoons teaching eager patients the basics of watercolor as therapy, and evenings on Charlotte's deck, sharing wine and memories under star-filled skies. For the first time in years, I feel truly alive. My modest salary from the rehabilitation center covers my personal expenses, allowing me to preserve my savings. I've opened a new account at a local bank, transferring my funds from the city. Jonathan has been instrumental in helping me secure my finances, ensuring Daniel can never again attempt to gain access. The safety I feel is worth more than money can buy. The calls from my family have grown less frequent as weeks passed. Daniel has left increasingly angry voicemails, his frustration evident in every clipped word. Victoria has tried a different approach, leaving saccharine messages about how much everyone misses me, how Olivia is suffering without her grandmother's guidance. Only Olivia's calls hold any note of genuine concern, though even those are tinged with self-interest. I've answered only a few, keeping the conversations brief and vague about my whereabouts. Each call has ended the same way, with inquiries about when I'd come to my senses and return home to help with the outstanding wedding costs. It's a Tuesday morning in late October when Charlotte enters the kitchen, her expression troubled. She hands me the local newspaper, her fingers trembling slightly. "You might want to see this," she says quietly. There, in the real estate section, is a small but eye-catching advertisement. Historic Maine cottage for sale. Ideal vacation home or retirement property. Lovingly maintained for generations, this charming seaside residence boasts original details and spectacular ocean views. Contact Henderson Properties for details. Below the text is a photograph of my parents' old summer cottage. The one they left to me. The one I have carefully maintained over decades despite rarely being able to visit. The cottage that, until that moment, I had almost forgotten I owned. Seeing it advertised for sale sends a shock through my system. My hands tremble as I set down the paper. "This isn't possible," I whisper, disbelief washing over me. "I never authorized this. The property is in my name alone." Anger quickly follows the shock. Charlotte's concerned gaze meets mine. "The contact information? Henderson Properties?" I nod. Daniel's real estate development company. The betrayal cuts deep, reopening wounds I thought were beginning to heal. I immediately call my bank in the city. Jonathan isn't available, but his assistant promises he will call back as soon as possible. Next, I contact the local clerk's office in the Maine county where the cottage is located, my heart pounding with anxiety. I need to verify the current ownership of a property, I explain, giving them the address. After a brief hold, the clerk returns with troubling news. According to our records, ownership of that property was transferred 3 weeks ago to Henderson Properties LLC. My blood runs cold. That's impossible. I'm Marie Henderson, the legal owner. I never signed any transfer documents. My voice shakes with indignation. Mom, I have the deed transfer right here, the clerk replies. It appears to be properly executed with your signature, witnessed and notarized. Another forgery. But this one has succeeded where the power of attorney attempt failed. The realization makes me feel physically ill. When Jonathan finally calls back, his voice is grave. Mrs. Henderson, I was planning to contact you today. There have been some concerning developments. I explain what I have discovered about the cottage, my voice tight with controlled anger. Jonathan sighs heavily. I was afraid of this. Your son came in last month with what appeared to be transfer documents for a property in Maine. Since it wasn't related to your accounts here and the documents seemed in order, you had no reason to question it, I finish for him. I understand, Jonathan. I can't bring myself to blame him. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Henderson. If I had known, it's not your fault, I assure him. But I need your help again. My resolve strengthens with each betrayal. By that afternoon, I'm sitting in the office of Abigail Morgan, an attorney specializing in elder law whom Jonathan has recommended. After reviewing my documentation and hearing my story, her expression turns resolute. What they've done is illegal, she states flatly. Forgery, fraud, and elder abuse. We can fight this, Mrs. Henderson. Her confidence is reassuring. Will it be expensive, I ask, mentally calculating my limited resources, anxiety tightening in my chest. Abigail smiles grimly. Normally, yes. But in this case, I think we can manage something. I have connections with the district attorney's office. Given the pattern of behavior, the attempted power of attorney fraud, followed by this property theft, they might be interested in pursuing this case. Her eyes flash with determination. I don't want my son to go to jail, I say reflexively, then pause, surprised by my own reaction. After everything Daniel has done, I still instinctively protect him. The realization both saddens and frustrates me. Abigail's gaze softens. That's not unusual, you know. Most of my elderly clients struggle with the same conflict. They want justice, but can't bear to see their children suffer, even when those children have betrayed them terribly. Her understanding brings tears to my eyes. I nod, grateful for her insight. I spent my career advocating for vulnerable seniors. I never thought I'd be one of them. We have options, she continues. Our first step will be sending a cease and desist letter regarding the property listing, coupled with a demand for immediate deed restoration. We'll make it clear that failure to comply will result in criminal charges. Her strategy is sound, professional. That evening, I sit on Charlotte's deck watching the sunset, a tumbler of whiskey warming my hands. The temperature has dropped, bringing with it the first hint of winter's approach. The amber liquid burns pleasantly down my throat. What are you thinking? Charlotte asks, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. Her concern wraps around me just as warmly. I'm thinking about second chances, I reply, watching the fading light play on the water. About whether some wounds can ever truly heal. The question weighs heavily on my heart. Charlotte settles into the chair beside me. Are you having doubts about pursuing this? Her voice is gentle, non-judgmental. I shake my head. Not doubts exactly, more like recognition. I've spent so many years making excuses for them, creating a fictional family in my mind. One that valued me. One that would never betray me the way they have. The admission is painful but freeing. And now? Charlotte prompts gently. Now I understand that the family I've been mourning never actually existed. I've been grieving a fantasy, not a reality. The clarity brings both pain and relief. The next morning, a familiar number appears on my phone. Ethan, Olivia's husband. My stomach tightens with apprehension. Curious, I answer. Marie, he begins, dispensing with pleasantries. This has gone far enough. You need to call off your lawyer. His tone is that of a businessman closing a deal, cold and calculated. Hello to you too, Ethan, I reply calmly, though my heart races. I assume you're calling about the cottage. I keep my voice steady, drawing on years of professional negotiations. It's just a rundown old house, he says dismissively. You never even visit it. Daniel was going to develop the property, turn it into something useful. The profits would have benefited the whole family. His lack of respect for something precious to me is staggering. The whole family? I repeat, anger flaring in my chest. You mean like the money from my house allegedly benefited Olivia's education before being diverted to your condo? I can't keep the bitterness from my voice. Ethan's tone hardens. That's ancient history. The point is, this legal action is an overreaction. No one wants to see the family reputation damaged by a public legal battle. Finally, the real concern emerges. Ah, there it is. The real concern, not the cottage itself, but the potential scandal of fraud charges against Daniel Henderson, respected businessman and community leader. I almost laugh at the transparency of it. If Daniel returns the property and ceases all attempts to access my assets, I'll consider dropping the matter, I offer, surprising myself with my businesslike approach. That's not reasonable, Ethan counters. The listing already has interested buyers. Contracts are being prepared. There's money invested in this project. His impatience is palpable. Money invested in property stolen from me. I correct him, my voice sharp with indignation. My answer is final, Ethan. Return what belongs to me or face the consequences. The ultimatum feels foreign on my tongue, but right. After hanging up, I feel an unfamiliar sensation bubbling up from my chest. Something between laughter and exhilaration. For 71 years, I have been the peacemaker. The one who compromised, the one who sacrificed to maintain family harmony. No more. The liberation is intoxicating. Abigail's strategy works faster than either of us anticipated. Within 48 hours of her legal notice being delivered, the property listing disappears. 3 days later, her office receives paperwork reversing the fraudulent transfer, returning the cottage to my name. The victory should feel sweet. They blinked, Abigail informs me triumphantly. They knew they couldn't win this one. Her satisfaction is evident. I should feel relieved, victorious even. Instead, I feel hollow. The cottage is mine again. But at what cost? The final illusion that my family might someday change, that they might someday truly see me that's gone forever. The grief of that recognition sits heavy in my chest. That evening, I call Olivia one last time. Grandma, she answers, her voice carefully neutral. Are you finally coming home? No, Olivia, I reply gently. I'm calling to say goodbye. The words are painful but necessary. There's a pause, then a sharp intake of breath. What do you mean, goodbye? Alarm colours her voice. I mean that after 71 years of giving everything I had, my home, my savings, my time, my professional expertise, my love, and receiving so little in return, I'm finally choosing myself. My voice remains steady despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm me. Because of the cottage? She asks, a note of disbelief in her voice. We've apologized for that. Dad made a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, I interrupt, feeling a flash of anger. It was a deliberate attempt to steal my property, just like the forged power of attorney was a deliberate attempt to steal my savings. After 35 years of protecting vulnerable seniors from exactly this kind of exploitation, I never imagined I'd face it from my own family. The bitter irony makes my voice crack. Grandma, please. Her plea sounds genuinely distressed. I've made my decision, Olivia. I've instructed my attorney to update my will. The cottage, my savings, everything I own will go to the rehabilitation center here in Maine. They're establishing a therapeutic art program for patients who can't afford treatment. The decision feels right, a way to honor both my professional legacy and my artistic passion. Silence stretches between us, heavy with unspoken words. So that's it? Olivia finally asks, her voice small. You're just erasing us from your life? The hurt in her voice almost weakens my resolve. I close my eyes, allowing the weight of her question to settle around me. When I speak again, my voice is steady, certain. No, Olivia. You erased me from yours long ago. I'm simply acknowledging what already exists. The truth, finally spoken aloud, brings both pain and peace. After we hang up, I walk down to the shore, watching as waves crash against the rocky coastline. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of salt and pine. Above me, stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, eternal and unchanging. The vastness of the universe puts my troubles in perspective. For the first time in years, I smile, a real smile, not the practiced one I'd worn like armor at Olivia's wedding. This smile reaches my eyes, warms my heart, lifts the burden I've carried for so long. The weight of expectations, of unrequited love, of professional dismissal, all washed away by the tide. I am free. Free to use my professional skills and artistic talents to help others. Free to live without constant disappointment. Free to be valued for who I truly am. Standing on the shore, with the wind in my hair and salt spray on my face, I make a silent vow. I will no longer live for approval that never comes. I will live for myself, for the patients who benefit from my experience, for the friend who sees my true worth. At 71, my story isn't ending. It's finally truly beginning.